Welcome to the Fobbs Business Review, your premier resource for business and about business. Today's show is going to bring you a variety of individuals that will be pretty interesting, and I know some of them you already know. We do have a returning guest that I'm excited to introduce to you once again. We are the talk show that teaches, so make sure you have that pen and paper and that you're ready to take some notes. And I think the notes are mostly for you to be able to follow up with these individuals, to get to know them a little better, and to go to their website to see if they have information you can use. On today's show via Skype from Las Vegas, I have Mr. Skip Martin, and Skip Martin is the person who made the song with Kool in the Gang called Let It Whip, so you probably know him, but he's also still doing a lot of music. He's actually doing some music in Las Vegas with Boys to Men right now, so he's going to talk to us about how he's kept his career so long. And then via Skype we also have Valerie Sheppard, and Valerie says that she has been coined the Happiness Sherpa, so we're going to ask her what all that means and talk a little bit about a retreat that she does every year in Costa Rica to help individuals with their life, getting their life together so that they can be a more successful person and a business owner. And she's going to be calling in today from California. San Clemente is the name of it. And also we have a returning guest by the name of Tony Harris, and Tony Harris is the turnaround queen. She's going to talk about some projects she's got going on right now, some speaking engagements. She'll talk a little bit more about her book. You've seen her here on the first season, and she's just really excited about what she's been able to do to help people with her book. And then we also have Miss Janice Hale Harris, and she's going to talk about a very important book that she has developed, and it's a book that you can use for your entire family. I think that's what caught my attention about her book, is that it's something that you can use throughout your family, especially with elders and especially with individuals who you really don't get a chance to see on a regular basis, but you want to be able to have some time with them, to talk with them. And she's created a book that is just designed for that. So you'll find that her project is very, very, very interesting. I know the first time I heard about it, I was like, wow, you could use that in hospitals and nursing facilities, hospice units. You can use this with your family just to keep in touch through prayer. I mean, it's very, very, very interesting. Now, on the Fobbs Business Review, our goal is to bring people to you that are interesting, people that will share ideas with you, people that will give you tips to take you to your next level. And everybody's level is different. And when I say to help you also become successful, just think about it. Success is different for each person. So that's one of the reasons why I want to make sure that you have that pen and you have that paper so that you can take notes for yourself. If you don't need those notes, share them with other people. Share with them so that they can know that you've got a television show that's there to help you with business and to help you with some ideas on getting started or going to the next level. But most importantly, we want to bring people on Skype to you so that you can know that no matter where you are in the world, you can do business with anyone. You can be a part of any type of group. So we want to make sure that you get that information. So come back with us, and I'm going to introduce you from Las Vegas and via Skype to Mr. Skip Martin, and then to Miss Valerie Sheppard. And she's going to talk to us about how she got her name as far as the business coach that she is. And then live in the studio will be Miss Janice Hale Harris and Tony Harris. And I don't think they're related, but you know what? I guess I have to ask now since they have the same last name. So come back with us with the pen and paper. And if you haven't been following us on Facebook or Twitter, make sure that you go to our webpage, which is www.thefobbsbusinessreview. And at the top right, you can click on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and all of that, just to kind of keep in touch with what we've got going on. Find out more about our 4 signature events that we do every year. Find out about workshops and events and those type of things. So on the Fobbs Business Review, we bring you the best people. We try to give you the best information that you can use and that you can share. So come back with us, and we look forward to you reaching out to us to let us know how the show is helping you. So come back with us and meet Skip Martin. On the Fobbs Business Review, we have so many exciting things happening. For instance, we want you to join us at www.thefobbsbusinessreview to find out about our workshops, our seminars, and our roundtable discussions that we'll be having in the community. We want to bring together small business owners and entrepreneurs to have a hub so that we can get together and discuss mentorship, talk about coaching programs, talk about services and programs, especially those that are speakers and authors. For myself, I know writing the book, N is for Networking, was very exciting for me because I love networking. It's about meeting meeting people, building relationships, and being able to be there as a service for people. My books, by the way, you can find them on Amazon.com. Just type in Dawn, D-A-W-N, Fobbs, F-O-B-B-S, and you will find that in this book I talk about not only social media, but I talk about face-to-face, I talk about leadership opportunities, as well as I wrote another book called Consider This, and this is those A to Z ideas for professional networkers. So you've got the N is for networking, and it talks about all the ways and the opportunities that you can learn to network. We've got some really exciting things in here that I know you probably don't know about, but they are things that I've researched. And then in Consider This, it's just basically A to Z ideas on how you can get out there and just consider some things before you go to network, because sometimes we have this idea of what we think it's going to be, and it never is. So the other book that I wrote it's called Now What, and it's making the decision to decide, and that could pertain to that entrepreneur that's out there that hasn't made a decision because something has happened in their life that, you know, maybe has stopped them from making that decision. So this book is all about going ahead and making the decision. And then if you decided that you do want to become an author, I have a book called Your Writing Career, and it talks about what kind of disciplines you need to have in order to be an author, or if you want to start writing. And last but not least of all the books I've written is Getting Back to the Basics. And it basically talks about how we can get back to the basics and start to do some of those things that we've forgotten to do. So join us at www.thefobbsbusinessreview, or you can find my books on Amazon.com. And we are back with Mr. Skip Martin from Las Vegas, Nevada, and he's calling in via Skype. And Skip is a Grammy Award-winning singer, songwriter, and producer. Thank you for being here, Skip.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this amazing career. I did let people know that you were a part of the Let It Whip song, and I got them excited about that. So let's talk about your long career and what you're doing now as well.
Okay, well my career started when I was, my professional career started when I was 15 years of age.
Okay.
I'm out of Sacramento, California, and I was playing trumpet and got hired to play in a band called East Wind Band. And it was majority of the people in the band were from Asia.
Oh.
Thus being the name East Wind Band. And I came in as a trumpet player.
Okay.
Because I could play the line on You're Still a Young Man from Tower of Power, which got me the gig.
Okay.
Ba-da-da-ba, ba-da-da-ba-da-da. And I was able to play that. And I got into the band. Started playing professionally. I played with them for about 4 years, so I was about 19. And then I decided to chase my career and pursue my career by leaving my hometown. And this is one thing I want my young people out there to understand, is that one of the key components to being successful at anything is to be, at least have enough courage to do what's not comfortable for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Do what's not actually convenient and in your comfort zone.
Okay.
And for me, that meant leaving my hometown, leaving the people that were around me and the support that was around me to go and pursue opportunities in another place that was a bit more foreign to me.
Right, right.
And we all have to have the courage to do that in order to succeed. It's one of those tests.
Right.
And that's what I did at a very early age, 19. I left my hometown, went to San Jose, ran into a group called Mighty Generation that played Parliament Funkadelic. We wore hot pants and we had leggings from the knee down.
Okay.
And we played Swing Down, Sweet Cherry, Stop, and Let Me Ride. Things from George Clinton.
Right.
And I went on the road with them, not knowing that going on the road at that time meant I was on the Chitlin Circuit.
Yeah.
The Chitlin Circuit meant you were making $20 a night.
Oh.
And 10 of those dollars went to the community bag of weed.
Oh my goodness.
And that was our existence for the next 3.5, 4 years. And I went and ended up in Youngstown, Ohio, where they were from. And I ran into a group called Kinsman Daz right around 1979. And Kinsman Daz was the precursor to the Daz Band.
Okay.
And, I joined the group as a trumpet player because they already had a lead vocalist and he was phenomenal. And I went in as a trumpet player.
Okay.
And pretty soon I got the opportunity to sing a demo tape for the group as we were doing some new material. And one thing led to another, and I became the lead vocalist of that group.
Wow.
Started in 1980 with the group and started recording with them. And I recorded 3 CDs or 3 albums at that time. There was no such thing as CDs
right.
at that time. I recorded 3 albums with them. And on our 3rd album, we recorded the song Let It Whip. And by the time Let It Whip had come out and had been out for 7 months, it was it was an awesome hit, and it changed my life.
Right.
We got nominated for a Grammy Award.
Right.
And went to Los Angeles to do our the television show for the Grammys.
Okay.
And we were in a class in a category that represented the best performance by a group or duo.
Okay.
And we were up against Cameo, Earth, Wind and Fire,
wow,
the Commodores.
Wow.
And I mean, a lot of great artists. So I really didn't anticipate the fact that we would win.
Oh my goodness.
But I was very happy to be there.
Yes.
And we were in our black Europa suits, and Europa suits were like what you see Bruno Mars wearing today.
Oh, okay.
Those 25-year cycles.
Right.
And we were wearing these suits that had short jackets that came up to the top of our butts and tight pants. And that was the look.
That was the look then.
And the whole band, 9 of us, were wearing black suits, white shirts, red ties, and red Maori leather shoes.
Wow.
And we were killing them and did our thing. We were very fortunate to get that opportunity. And not only the opportunity, but we ended up winning the award.
Well, that was exciting.
A lot of my beginnings came from. And I started playing with the group, and we did 7 albums. We were on the Motown label. And from doing this, we had a chance to open in a lot of great concerts with people like The Whispers, which was one of the first groups that we went on the road with. Matter of fact, when we got our first gold record, we were on the road with The Whispers. And we did a lot of concerts opening the show for Kool and the Gang.
Right.
We did a lot of shows opening for Rick James, who I became very personal friends with, over those years.
Wow.
And one thing led to another as time went on. About 10 years into my career, about 10 years into my career, I got the opportunity to be asked to be a part of the Kool and the Gang family.
Awesome. So
J.T. Taylor, who was the lead singer of Kool and the Gang, had left in about 1986. And I had made a departure after 7 albums with the Daz Band.
Right.
To start some things on my own as an individual. Back in that day and time, black artists had more of a difficulty being diversified than the white artist at that time.
So right now, you're stationed, you're in Las Vegas right now.
I'm in Las Vegas right now.
And what type of shows are you doing in Las Vegas right now?
Well, the shows I'm doing right now, I'm playing lead trumpet. I'm playing as the MD. Okay. For the horn section.
Okay.
Of Boys to Men.
Right. Okay.
We're doing 80 shows at the Mirage Theater in Las Vegas.
80 shows, that's impressive.
So it's very, it's a wonderful gig, and I'm enjoying it.
Wow.
I'm enjoying it for a couple of reasons, because it gives me opportunity to do one of my other crafts that I started out doing, which was playing trumpet.
Right.
As a mainstay versus singing lead vocals, what I have done for 35 years in 2 different groups.
So are you
as a front man.
Are you online where people can go and find out about your shows and find out more about what you're doing?
Yes, you can find me on skipmartinmusic.com.
Skipmartinmusic.com, okay.
That's my website. You can also check the Mirage if you want to see the Boys to Men shows. If you happen to come to the West Coast and check out Nevada and Vegas.
Okay.
See that show. It's a phenomenal show. It really is. I'm having a great time.
And what about Facebook and Twitter? Are you also there?
Yes, I am.
Well, good. I'm glad that you're taking advantage of the social media so that people can find out about what's going on with Skip Martin. That's really amazing. I think you've had a really impressive career, and I'm glad that you were able to be here today to let people know that you're still out there performing because, you know, they may not know that, and people go to Vegas all the time. I know I was just there a couple months ago. I wish I'd known. I would have come to see you.
Yes. Well, we started on March 1st, so everything is really up and going now, and we're having a great time doing it. I'm having a great time doing it.
Oh, good. So that makes sure
it's come from relationships.
Right. So that makes your career span how many total years?
About 35 years.
35 years. That is beautiful, and you're still out there performing. I thank you so much for being here today, Skip. And when next time I'm in Las Vegas, I'm going to look you up and come to see one of the shows or wherever you may be at that time. You never know.
Play no games, girl. I'm looking forward to it.
No, I absolutely will. Thank you so much for being here today.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks, Skip. When we come back, I will introduce you to Miss Valerie Sheppard from California. So come back with us. And we are back. And via Skype, I have Miss Valerie Sheppard, and she's from San Clemente, California. And Valerie has a name that's coined Sherpa of Happiness. And she's going to talk to us about how she got that name. So thank you for being here, Valerie. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dawn. I'm really grateful to have this opportunity.
Oh, great. Tell us about the Sherpa of Happiness.
Well, I was dubbed that by a client, a friend who I was giving some help with some issues, and we were talking about how he could create more happiness in his life through taking some specific steps. And he said, you know, you're like this guide to happiness. And he said, how about Sherpa of Happiness? And that kind of stuck. And so that's what I do. I guide people to more success and fulfillment through connection to their inner source of happiness.
And how long have you been doing that?
Oh, I guess it's about 4 or 5 years now.
4 or 5 years? And how did you get to that place where you started doing it and realized, well, wait a minute, this is really changing people's lives?
Well, I think people just give me feedback on the shifts that they're experiencing.
Right.
They let me know that they approach things differently. They're feeling more calm, more centered, more balanced, more grounded. They can see the changes and they let me know.
Oh, wonderful. Now, do you think that sometimes people sacrifice their happiness for other things?
I absolutely believe that. I think it's sad, but it's fairly common. You know, people do it for the sake of money or prestige or responsibility or even security. And I think sometimes, or maybe even it's most of the time, people don't really know that they're doing it. And the things that they're doing that are sacrificing happiness are in their blind spot. And, you know, I did that for a long time before I started what I'm doing now. I was sacrificing happiness all the time. I was really focused on living in the present moment with the expectation of something in the future. So I was constantly looking for deferred happiness. You know, that's when I get around to it. It's like I'll be happier when I get the next promotion or when I'm making more money. Or when I take this vacation or, you know, when so-and-so asked me to marry him. And it was all about the future. It was never about being authentically happy in the present.
So when was that moment that you said, okay, this is not going to work. I need to make some changes. What happened to make you make that next step?
Oh, I had a wake-up call kind of an experience. I mean, there were several smaller calls along the way, but I wasn't really getting it. Like I said, it was in the blind spot. So I would get a performance evaluation at work, or a friend would tell me that they felt like I was difficult to deal with, or I seemed angry all the time. But I wasn't, and I would do things. You know, I actually at one point was seeing a psychologist, but things weren't shifting. It wasn't. It was only getting, I guess, surface level shifting happening. Okay. And one day, I was a corporate vice president, and I was in a meeting with my team, and I started having what I thought were symptoms of a heart attack. And I very, mentally asked, does anyone know what the symptoms of a heart attack are in a woman? And my team got really frantic, and I actually went back to my office and tried to look them up on the computer, and they said, no, let's take you to the hospital. So they took me to Hoag Hospital here in Newport Beach, California. And I was later diagnosed with a benign superarrhythmia. I had not had a heart attack, but there had been some testable, measurable cardiac activity. Like they could see it on monitors and equipment.
Right.
And over the course of the next couple months of seeing cardiologists and having tests done, they diagnosed me with this benign superarrhythmia, which means the electrical pulses going through the heart were off. They were kind of running amok, so to speak. They were, and it's benign, meaning there's nothing physiologically wrong with you, but nonetheless there's something physiological happening.
Right.
And that's when I kind of went, okay, wait a second. They wanted to, one of the things they could do was restart my heart. I was like, I don't think that's what I'd like to start with. Let's start with some other things. And that's when I realized, okay, my life doesn't feel like my life. Whose life am I living? Why is it so difficult for me to get in this rhythm of things being peaceful and joyful and me feeling loved and more free in my life? And that was the catalyst. What is it that I'm really here for, and who am I really?
Right. Wow. So I know that you do work with teens and youth. So tell me about that work, because I think that's very important, especially since you're talking about the subject of happiness.
Yes, and this is the work I do with teens, and why I really love it with youth is because I wish I knew then what I know now.
I know, I say that.
And I feel like the planet is doing some massive shifting, whether it's in the personal lives of people or in the workplace lives of people.
Right.
And starting them at an earlier age, knowing who they are and what they're here for, I think helps everybody. And so right now I work through two projects. I have one called the Rock Life Campaign and one called Book Pals.
Okay.
And Rock Life is a national movement that is around alleviating issues like eating disorders, bullying, depression, suicide, among people 15 to 24. In the U.S. population, suicide is the number 3 cause of death in that age group.
Wow.
If you narrow that age group to college age, so like 19 or 17 to 24, it's the number 2 cause of death.
Wow.
And so I'm the program director for the Rock Life Campaign, which is a partnership with NBA basketball player Mitch Richmond, who actually is a finalist for the Hall of Fame this year. Hopefully he'll be announced on April 8th as a Hall of Fame inductee. But so his kids are going through, friends attempting suicide. His neighborhood has had so many, I think 14 in the course of 12 months.
Wow, that's
suicides.
serious. Yeah.
And so we're taking my Happy to Be Me self-empowerment process. It's a 4-step process, and we're bringing that into youth through monthly activities and coaching and things like that.
So
and then Book Pals is a literacy program. I read to elementary kids. It's through the Screen Actors Guild Foundation.
Oh, good.
And I love working with kids. They have fewer attachments to their ideas of how life is supposed to be or who they are, and they shift pretty quickly. If you allow them to, they can shift pretty quickly.
Wow. So what do you think are some of the number one things people can do to stay happy or to start to go down that road of being happy and being themselves?
Meditation. So quieting the egoic mind and connecting to the intuitive mind, the more sacred inner voice that even Albert Einstein recognized. He said the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind is its faithful servant. We have created a society that worships the servant and has forgotten the gift.
Right.
And so that's like the number one thing that I have people do is, even if it's 5 minutes a day, you can start there. You can start with a minute in a really tough hour.
Right.
Take a minute to get centered.
Right,
I also teach laughter yoga. I'm a certified laughter yoga instructor, and laughter has been proven over and over to have therapeutic benefits for mind, body, and spirit. And so I have my clients do a little bit more laughing.
Right.
And then internal exploration, like letting go of the emotional junk in the trunk, the wounds, the resentments, the fears, the angers, helping people unravel from those things so that they can actually be present and choose things from their present moment experience as opposed to from their past experiences.
Oh, I think that is so amazing. Now, I know that you've got an upcoming trip to Costa Rica. Is that going to be an annual event?
Wow, I'd like to have it be a quarterly event.
Quarterly event. So tell us a little bit about the quarterly event, just in case by the time the viewers look at this particular program, if you've already gone, give them a little information about the event and tell them where they can find you online.
Oh, sure. So the event is called the Happiness Sabbatical,
Mm-hmm.
and it's for people who have gotten to this place feeling like, you know what, I think I could use a time out, and it's really important that we take time out
Right.
to recharge, renew, kind of regain our sparkle, our optimistic look. What happens is people feel like, okay, if I'm just going to go on vacation, that's enough. But
Right.
for many people, it's not.
Right.
And the Happiness Sabbatical is a conscious program. So there are My Happy to Be Me program is one of the centerpieces, and there are workshops every day. It's an 8-day experience.
Okay.
We go to someplace beautiful and far away to really take people off the grid. Like, shut your phone down, let go of your computer. Tell people at home you'll see them in 8 days.
Love
and
it.
really focus on you. Like, give yourself the gift of being the centerpiece of your life.
Absolutely.
And it's at happinesssabbatical.com.
Wonderful. And so they can find it at happinesssabbatical.com. Is there also a different website to find out more about your coaching programs and your youth programs, or is everything there?
Sabbatical is good for the retreat.
Okay.
The youth program Rock Life is at mrocklife.com.
Okay.
Rocklife.com. And my basic website is theheartoflivingvibrantly.com.
Theheartoflivingvibrantly.com. Thank you so much for being with us today. I appreciate you being able to share all this information, and you really made me happy when you talked about meditation, because that's something that really does change everything about you when you start meditating, to be able to shut that brain down and to just focus and be present and just still for a moment. So thank you for bringing that part up, because it really does help. I'm definitely going to look more into the laughter yoga, because I've heard a lot about it and it sounds like it's quite interesting. So thanks for sharing that with us as well.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me today.
Okay, Valerie, thank you so much for being with us.
Many blessings.
All right. When we come back, I will be able to introduce you to Miss Janice Hale Harris, and she will talk to you about her new book. And we are back, and live from Houston, Texas, I have Miss Janice Hale Harris, and she's going to talk a little bit about her book. She's been a motivational and inspirational speaker for 20 plus years.
Yes,
I saw that and I went, really, 20 plus years?
I'm not even that old. I don't know how that happened.
I don't know how. You probably started when you were in diapers. You know
I did.
how it is. So tell us about this book. I thought that this would be, I told him when I introduced you earlier that this would be so important for family.
Absolutely.
For facilities, for anyone who wants to stay in touch with someone through prayer. And then I wanted you to explain the journey that it took writing the book. Tell me how much therapy you got out of the book. That always happens. So I just kind of throw that in. And then talk about the workbook as well. So let's just jump in and talk about what made you even write the book.
All righty. So it's called Hand in Hand.
Okay.
And it is really a book about 4 little girls, and one of them's moving away.
Okay.
And the grandmother helps them figure out how to stay in touch without using the internet.
Oh.
So it's pretty incredible. And so when I introduce it to parents and I say, this is a way for your children to stay in touch with their friends without use of the internet.
Right.
And they're like, really? There you get off the computer?
Right.
I said,
and texting, right?
Right. And texting, everything. I said, not only do they leave all their electronics alone, I said, they love it.
Wow.
They love the whole process of it.
And then they say, tell me more. What do you mean if I can get them off the computer?
I said, well, not only that, it works for your children, it also works for adults.
Oh, that's right.
And so you can connect to your friends and family who are far away without the use of any technology. You don't even have to pick up the phone and call them.
Wow.
You simply read this book, which is short, and then you do the work.
I was going to say, it looks like it's an easy read. You can read it.
It is an easy read, less than 50 less than 50 pages. And when the idea came to me to write the book, I felt like making a book that was short, that you could read in less than an hour, would encourage people to read it, because I really want them to get on to doing the work versus saying, what a nice book, or it's 200 pages, I cannot read. I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah.
So that's how the whole process started.
So how do the 4 little girls embrace it?
Well,
without giving too much away.
They turn it into a worldwide project. They do a project for school.
Okay.
And as a result of that, it becomes a worldwide phenomenon, and everybody wants to take on the process of doing what they did.
So when you're telling people, let's say you're on a stage and you're speaking, how do you explain the book to people so that they get it? I mean, when you first said it to me, and, at Sandy's house, and you explained it, I went, I get it. but how do you get other people to get it?
It is amazing when I talk to people about the power of energy and touch.
Right.
And because energy is real and touch is real.
Right.
So I give people examples of how we touch and agree in so many different arenas. I talk about the research that I did. Even to write this 50-page book, I spent a few months doing research.
Of course.
Because I wanted to compare the science to the spirituality and connect the two. And so that's really what the book does. So it talks about the science of touch, and then I give people examples of that. One example would be in hospitals, they have grandmother groups where they go in and they ask these women to just hold sick babies that the touch really just, helps them. Or in homes with senior citizens, they'll come in, they'll have people just come in and sing or talk, or they just walk from room to room and give someone a hug, because there's so much power, in touching someone and touching and agreeing. So I talk about that a lot.
Oh my goodness. So what we're going to do is, I want to make sure you give your website first so that people can find the book.
Absolutely. You can go to thehandinhandbook.com, thehandinhandbook.com. You can find out about the book there. You can get it on Amazon as well as on Barnes & Noble.
Wonderful. So what we're going to do is I want you to go through the workbook when we go over to the round table. Go through the workbook. Show us exactly how it happens, because I want you to get the demonstration so that you can see how it works, so that you can incorporate this into your family. Like she said, hospitals can use it. Senior facilities can use it.
People have used it for family reunions.
We got to talk a little more about that, because family reunions, absolutely. Okay, that's going to be good. So you're going to show us how to do that in the book, and show us how the workbook and the book works hand in hand, right?
Yes, I will.
Hand in hand. There we go. Hey, I didn't even try to do that. Okay, so when we come back, we'll have Janice Hale Harris at the round table with us, and Miss Tony Harris, Drastic Steps Queen. So come back with us and have your pen and paper, because you're going to want to order these books just for your family. If not, tell everybody else in the facilities about them. So come back with us. On the Fobbs Business Review, we have so many exciting things happening. For instance, we want you to join us at www.thefobbsbusinessreview to find out about our workshops, our seminars, and our roundtable discussions that we'll be having in the community. We want to bring together small business owners and entrepreneurs to have a hub so that we can get together and discuss mentorship, talk about coaching programs, talk about services and programs, especially those that are speakers and authors. For myself, I know writing the book, N is for Networking, was very exciting for me, because I love networking. It's about meeting people, building relationships, and being able to be there as a service for people. My books, by the way, you can find them on Amazon.com. Just type in Dawn, D-A-W-N, Fobbs, F-O-B-B-S, and you will find that in this book I talk about not only social media, but I talk about face-to-face, talk about leadership opportunities, as well as I wrote another book called Consider This, and this is those A to Z ideas for professional networkers. So you've got the N is for networking, and it talks about all the ways and the opportunities that you can learn to network. We've got some really exciting things in here that I know you probably don't know about, but they are things that I've researched. And then in Consider This, it's just basically A to Z ideas on how you can get out there and just consider some things before you go to network, because sometimes we have this idea of what we think it's going to be, and it never is. So the other book that I wrote it's called Now What, and it's making the decision to decide, and that could pertain to that entrepreneur that's out there that hasn't made a decision because something has happened in their life that maybe has stopped them from making that decision. So this book is all about going ahead and making the decision. And then if you decided that you do want to become an author, I have a book called Your Writing Career, and it talks about what kind of disciplines you need to have in order to be an author, or if you want to start writing. And last but not least of all the books I've written is Getting Back to the Basics, and it basically talks about how we can get back to the basics and start to do some of those things that we've forgotten to do. So join us at www.thefobbsbusinessreview, or you can find my books on Amazon.com. And we are back, and I want to share a little bit more of Miss Janice Hale Harris with you and how her book works and how the workbook can benefit you. But I want you to make sure that you take some notes so that when you go to the website to purchase the book, when you're explaining it to your family, to say, hey, we need to have this for our family reunion, or we need to have this the next time we have a gathering, or start thinking about the older individuals that are in your family as well. Absolutely. So that you can always have some type of connection with them and your children. Do this with your babies and your teenagers, and especially the ones going off to college and all of that. I'm just thinking of so many ways this book can work. We were going to be joined by Miss Toni Harris, but she was not able to make it, so she will join us on another show, and you've seen her before. But I like to have people come back as well to just talk about some new things that they have going. So she will be back with us at another time. So I want to spend some more time with Miss Janice Hale Harris. So let's talk about the book. Again, you said you put research in, and when I heard you say that, I went, she put the work in. Okay, I like it when people put the work in.
Absolutely.
So when you were doing your research, what are some of the ways that you did the research?
So first I went to the internet and I looked at touch, I looked at healing, I looked at hands. So I looked at a lot of different areas because I was trying to make sure that I covered all the bases.
That's right.
Because I know this work from a spiritual perspective,
right?
But I wanted to make sure that I understood it from a scientific perspective as well.
Because you have to put that meaning behind it, because you're going to have
absolutely.
people who will understand the spiritual part, but then they need that scientific part too. So
Correct.
that's really great you did that.
And if I actually have run into people who only understand the scientific piece
Exactly.
of it, and then the spiritual or relational piece of it comes in later. They're like, okay, well, if it has science behind it, maybe I'll try it.
Isn't that interesting?
And so, so they're just different ways to get people to where we need them to be.
Absolutely. So when you put the research into it and you were looking at it, did you find something that you went, huh?
One of the most amazing things I found in the book was about the NBA. So a group of researchers out of Southern California did a study of NBA basketball teams. And they found that teams where the players touched each other more, gave each other more high fives, won more games.
And that's funny because I'm always making a joke about the basketball guys, how they touch each. And I'm like, that's a little weird. Okay, so maybe I'll be a little friendlier now.
Be nicer to them. Yes.
I get a little weird about all that touching. I'm like, I don't like all that patting on the behind. And
it's a little disconcerting, but what they found is that as they did that more, they just instinctively knew how to work with each other.
Right. It's almost like saying, you got my back, I got your back.
They developed kind of a sixth sense about how to work with each other and actually won more games. And so I always encourage people to go to the website and check out that study, because it is just fascinating.
That is fascinating.
The kinds of things that they found out. We talked about the babies, and we've talked about older people, but one of the other things that's come up is I had someone take this book to one of the hospitals here in Houston, and they put it outside the room of someone who could not have visitors. So the person was in isolation. So when people came to visit, they would trace their hand in the book. And the person who was inside could then touch the person who had come to see them in that way.
And did the person inside know?
Oh yeah, they could see the person, but they couldn't, they couldn't come in the room. And so the way it works is you have the book. So this is
the journal.
This is the journal. So the little girls in the hand book created a journal as part of their school project. And in the journal, they asked their friends and family to trace their hands. And so when they traced their hands, because when you trace your hands have energy. A part of that energy actually stays on the page. So when you're away from your friends and family, or you're trying to connect with them, you simply lay your hand in their hand.
Give us an example of that.
All right, well, let me show you. Now, this is your book, so I'm going to put my hand in the back of your book. How's that? So if you notice...
So they can use the pages to do journaling.
They can journal on one side, and then they draw the hand on the other side. And so you simply... Make sure this is your last page. It is. So you simply lay your hand...
Now pay attention now, because
you
we
lay your hand in
do
the
this
book
with your family. So you lay your hand in the book, and it doesn't matter which hand, right?
Doesn't matter which hand. It doesn't. But I'm left-handed, so it's easier to do my right hand. And I simply trace my hand. And then I sign my name.
Instructions, I love it. Okay. So you trace, and then sign the name.
And then I put the date.
Okay.
So today is
3/25.
5. Okay.
I was about to say 26.
I was going to say 24. So.
Okay.
So now you have my hand. So one thing that happens is I can call you and say, Dawn, I'm going on a trip to talk about my book,
right.
I would love if you would just touch and agree with me. And now you can lay your hand in my hand.
Without saying, let me come to your house, I'm on the way. Or
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. And so the book has instructions in the front to remind people of exactly how to use it.
Okay.
And then you simply go through the process. Now, one of the things that I do remind people is this is not like Santa Claus.
Right.
And this does not take the place of universal law.
That's right.
So what does that mean? If you want something that you really shouldn't have, this doesn't allow you to get that.
That's right.
So if you're in a relationship that you shouldn't be in, the person is married or they're involved with someone else, having them trace their hand in this book and you touch and agree violates law.
It absolutely
so
does.
Therefore, I don't want people to walk away thinking
that
oh,
it's
I
magic
can,
or-
right,
yeah.
it's none of that.
Right.
And, you know, it must, the person that you're touching and agreeing with must agree as well.
Absolutely.
So they agree, you know, just in principle on how the whole process works.
What are some results you've seen from this? Because if you've been talking with people about family, let's talk about the family reunion aspect of it. I mean, can you imagine you get together, family reunion? I mean, sometimes we'll get together and I look back and I'm looking at the 95-year-olds and the 100-year-olds and I'm like, wow, you know, this would be great to have at a reunion. So what are some experiences you've had?
So I've had several. Let me step back and say I actually started doing this process with my own family in 2005.
Oh my goodness, this has been a journey.
So this has been a journey. So it was never my intention to make it into a book.
It happens
Isn't
like
that-
that
isn't that
every
the
time,
case?
right?
That was not what I was looking to do. I
Right.
was in class to become a spiritual director.
Right.
And so we had to do an art project and I was not interested.
Oh.
I was not going to do it. I was like, this is...
Talk about rebelling.
I was Jonah. I was just like, you know, I'm not doing it. People don't... I said, if somebody comes to me and they can connect with God through art, they'll know it. They don't need my help.
Right.
But because I did not want to be completely disobedient,
Yes.
I decided to be really obstinate. So I just took some paper and started tracing my hand. Found a scripture and said, okay, I'm done. Let me move on. I have wasted a day. And then it didn't leave me. So about a month later, I was like, you know, there could be something to that. So I started doing some research and started creating my own, what I called hand journal.
Right.
So I put people's hands in there. My son, who is almost 30, his hand is the first hand in my book.
Okay.
And after we did this, he said, I'm going to call you every time I need something. And this child swears that the handbook helped him get through college.
Oh my goodness.
We've had...
And you say,
So I was actually invited to speak to a group of women.
Okay.
And I said, maybe I'll teach them how to make handbooks. And literally the next morning, like I'm speaking to you, I heard, no, you need to give this to the world. And what I heard was, you weren't ready, Janice, you weren't ready before.
Right.
But now you are, and the world needs this.
And now you know what you're supposed to do
And
just
I
from
was
that
just,
little...
right. And so it's just like, you know, and that's why I say it's my Jonah story, because Jonah did not want to save the people. He was like, okay, God, I'm going to do this because you're making me.
Right.
But then
and you had that same
right, and I did. I was like, okay, you're going to make me do this, fine.
Right.
And then the people get saved. And I'm like, okay, so I've just learned to really, that obedience is, you know, just better than anything
So now
else.
how many children do you have?
I have two.
You have two. So you, the first one, the oldest one, I'm
my
assuming.
son and my daughter is second. Yes.
And so your daughter's hand is in there as well.
Yes.
And does she
relatives,
say it works for her as well?
She said it works, but my son, for some reason, was the one that connected with it the most, which is interesting because I always think of this process as being more female.
Yes.
But
no.
But no. And so in ministry, I've had male pastors really connect with this. Oh. And so pastors who are going out and serving, you know, sick people or families where they've just lost a loved one are really doing this. But you asked me about family reunions.
Yes. Because I always think about the elders when I think about the reunions, because it's like, by the time we do this reunion next year, will that person be here?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, or it could be anyone.
Exactly. I've had people order 20 at a time, and it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So the one family...
Do these come together?
They don't come together.
Okay,
they
so
come
you can-
separately. So
okay.
you can get the book, and there are instructions in the book, and you can create your own journal.
Got it.
Or you can buy this journal.
And then that way you have a book per family or something.
You have a book per family.
Okay.
So what we had a friend who did this at Thanksgiving.
Okay.
They had 20 books. They didn't, and so they had 20 books, so they had 10 of each. they didn't have enough
goodness.
because every person, they wanted both. So she split them up and gave one family a book and one family a journal. And then she
had to make another order.
And then she bought more from me because then she didn't have a book.
Oh,
so
no.
she had given away everything, including her own book, to her family. So my original thought was, okay, one per family. But so here's what happens at family reunions. You have a family.
Yes.
But maybe you have older children and they have their own family.
Right.
So they're saying, okay, well, we're going to give it to the grandparents and the grandparents' children.
Okay.
Well, the grandchildren are like, well, no, I got a family of my own. I want my own book.
Everybody wants their own
book.
book.
And so everybody wants their own book.
Right.
But it becomes such a fun activity.
Right.
Because especially if the children are the ones in the family going around collecting all of the handprints. And so I've watched families use it. They put the books together and pray over the books before they even hand them out to the other folks in the family.
That is amazing. What is some feedback you've been getting from your own family, besides your children?
You know, it's been interesting. My family loves the book.
Good.
What's been more interesting are people that I don't know who are responding. And so about a week ago, I ran into a lady that I don't know very well. She said, "Oh my goodness, I am so glad to meet you." I'm like, okay. She said, "Let me tell you about your book."
Oh.
There was a young lady, unfortunately 17 years old, who died recently. Before they would allow the family to completely unplug and move her body, they said, "Someone's coming." And they waited 2 hours and they showed up with my journal.
Oh, no.
I was so touched. And she didn't know.
At moments like that, you need your phone so you can video everything they
I
have to
know.
say.
And I was like, "You're kidding." And she said,
Oh, my
"I wasn't there."
Oh.
She said, "But the young lady had a band teacher, and the band teacher said, I don't know if this is a religious practice, but he said it just brought us all so much peace."
You just put a memory. I'm just thinking class reunions.
Class reunions,
You know, like when you're graduating from
absolutely,
high school.
yes.
So the high school kids, this would be a great way for them to keep in touch with their classmates as well.
Well, you know, it's interesting you would mention that. As time has gone on, I've been asked at least on 3 or 4 different occasions to do a version for the military. So I have a new version coming out at the end of April called Hand in Hand, A Military Family.
Oh.
And the cover is gorgeous. It has
I like this one. I mean, I like the fact that you have the hand there and then you have the tracing because it's very self-explanatory.
It is very much like
military
this
one is going to be completely amazing.
And so it follows the same theme in terms of the cover, but it has kind of the military ambiance. You know it's military as soon as you look at it. It is beautiful.
Oh my goodness.
And so we've, just redone the story because military families move so much.
Oh my
I started hearing,
and they're gone. I mean,
right.
the women and the men, they're gone. And if you're gone for 5 or 6 years, the little kids,
And then I heard that from other people that I wish I could be in touch with friends I met when my dad moved to Okinawa.
Oh.
And we used to be in, Texas. And then we moved to, and I was like, and I wonder where so-and-so is today. It would be so great if I had their handprint. Oh. And so I started getting so much feedback on that. I was like, well, maybe I should do that. So I'm actually going to a conference of military women where I'll have an opportunity to
And you should have them debut
it
on Army Wives.
I should. I know. What a great idea.
That's
I
just a phone call away.
Oh my goodness. That is an awesome idea. I'm going to write that one down. I will act
As soon
that.
as you said it, I'm like, this could be on Army Wives.
That would be phenomenal.
It would. You have to do that.
I have to do that. I have to do that.
Well, thank you so much for being able to explain the book to us. And, before we go, tell us about the journey that you went through just doing the book. Just like some things that, you said you've been doing it since 2005, but just some things that just kind of happened as you were completing it. Because it's almost like therapy when we're writing books and workbooks.
It so much is.
Right.
I first of all, I had to really go into prayer to make sure that I presented an honest and open view of this. And I had a tough time starting to write, but it was fear. It was fear about just, kind of working through the process.
What's going to happen with the process?
Right.
Is anybody going to want the book? Am I going to put too much time and then nobody...
Exactly.
I get it.
So as I'm struggling through that, I'm writing on the plane, and so I travel quite a bit.
Right.
And there was a woman on her way to Australia, an older woman, and she said, "I really love your book." Because I'm sitting in the middle seat, I'm like, no, she's not sitting there just reading over my shoulder.
They're very nosy, very nosy on the airplane.
And so I got to a particular part of the book, and I needed to make a decision about one of the characters. And so I turned to her and I said, "Well, what do you think should happen?" And she's like, "Oh my God, I don't know, but whatever you do, I know it's going to be right." And so I'm like, okay. So I just kind of continued working through it. But at every point that I got nervous about whether or not this was the right thing to do, something would happen. Someone would say, "That's a phenomenal idea, you have to share it." Or, "I've never heard of that before, you have to share it." I would say the other thing that happened is the characters' names changed about 15 times.
Oh, okay.
Because as I had people read it, they would say, "I can't really relate to Susie, but I can't, that name just sounds old to me, but I can relate to Madison."
Right.
And so just
things
just things changing to create something that adults could read, that children could read, older people, and everybody would get the message.
Well, thank you for being obedient and putting this work out there. I often tell people you have to put your work out there because you don't know who you're going to help by putting it out there. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
When you have the military one back, you have to come and show us that one as well, because I want to be able to talk about that as well.
And then I'll be able to tell you about Army Wives.
Absolutely. We'll be talking, that already aired.
Yes, that'll be great.
All right, so when we come back, I will help you with some of the ideas that you may have gotten from the show today. So come back with us and have your pen and paper. And I hope that you get a chance to go to Janice's website and look at the book and just think of all the ways you can use it. We've probably given a dozen ways today already. So come back with us. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of the show, but I know that you probably agree with me now that we've had some very interesting individuals on the show. I really love it when we have a different variety of people. We have a mixture of the men, a mixture of women. We have the Skype and people that can come live in the studio. I think that it gives your mind an opportunity to just be able to think all over the place and to connect with all types of people, and it doesn't have to be all uniformed. I kind of like that. So, if you've been watching the show, you know that we have the best people that have come to the studio as well as those that are on Skype. And, the Fobbs Business Review, that is what our goal is to introduce you to amazing people that you may think you know, but until they get here, they may share with you how they started their businesses. They may give you tips and ideas and just really, really focus on how they can help you. And I really appreciate them for doing that for us here on the Fobbs Business Review. And so I have to thank today Mr. Skip Martin, who called in from Skype in Las Vegas to talk about his career with music and his trumpet playing and the fact that he's still making music today and working with some of the later artists. So, I appreciate Skip for being in today, but also Miss Valerie Sheppard from San Clemente, California, who was here to talk to us about happiness. That's a topic that a lot of people won't touch. I've even had people say, "You're just too happy. You can't be like that every day." And I'm like this when it's not cold. So when it's cold, you don't get the real happy me. But she's talking about that deeper happiness of knowing who you are and putting yourself first, that you can take care of yourself, and talking about her happiness sabbatical. I mean, did you know that there was a happiness sabbatical? And the one she did in 2013 was in Costa Rica. So can you imagine, you're on a happiness sabbatical, you get to go to Costa Rica for 8 days, and you're completely off the grid, meaning no phone, no internet, no television, no nothing but you and your happy little self. So it sounds quite interesting. And she wants to make these events quarterly. So go to her website, Valerie Sheppard's website, and look at some of the events that she may have coming up, and you may be able to join one of them. That's why I want you to have your pen and paper so you can take your notes, to be able to go there and say, "Oh, I missed the one that was in the summer, but I can now catch the one that's in the fall or coming up in the winter or in the spring." But you stay in touch with some of the people that are here because they've always got something really amazing going on. I also want to thank Miss Janice Hale Harris for being here. I love that she brought the book and she did a demonstration to show you how it can work for you. It's one thing for people to tell you what it's done for them and what it's done for everybody else, but she actually gave us a demonstration on what to do, and it was like a 1, 2, 3 step process. I like the examples that she gave, that, you know what, she put the work in by doing the research for the book, so that you have individuals who are spiritually enlightened, and then you have those who want the science behind it. So I love that she said that, and I didn't know that before she came today, and I've heard her speak many times, and I've seen the book, but I didn't know that she had put the work in to do the research. I thought this was, purely based on, experience that she had. So I really appreciate her being in the studio to talk about that. So go to www.thefobbsbusinessreview and make sure that any of the people that have been on the show, you can connect with them. If you have questions, send them an email. Just about everybody who's been in this studio is either on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, or LinkedIn. So that's another way you can connect with people to find out what they have going on. So Skip shared with us, and he said mostly for the young and the youth to do things that are out of the normal for you, to just take a chance and do something that's uncomfortable, because that's kind of what happened with him at 15 years old. Being a lead vocalist and a lead trumpet player at 15, that's a big job, and to be working with such a diverse group of people. So, if you're out there and you're between the ages of, I would say, 14 and 21 years old, do something that's different. Do something that makes you uncomfortable. You never know what greatness will come out of it. Valerie talked a little bit about meditation. I really love that she talked about meditation, because that is something that is very worthy. It's something that will help to shut that brain down once a day so that you can focus and be present. And it really does help you, especially if you have a really, really, really busy lifestyle and everything's going 1,000 miles an hour, being able to meditate. And I'll give you one thing that you may not know. You don't have to be in a studio to meditate. You can be anywhere in the world and just shut down. You can be sitting waiting for an airplane. You can be on the airplane. You can be in your hotel waiting for an event. You can be anywhere and just take those few minutes to meditate. And it doesn't have to be a certain amount of time or a certain time of the day. Just make sure you get it in daily. And if you can get it in a couple times a day, that's even better. Also, Janice, she talked about the work that you do in the handbook, and she gave us the 3-step process. So when you do order your book and you use it for your family, just imagine, you can use it for your family reunion, you can use it for your class reunion, the kids are graduating, you could give that to someone as a gift, and they could use it during, when they're having their senior activities. You can use it in nursing facilities. There's so many ways you can use Janice's book. And she said you put your hand, you trace it, you sign your name, and you date it. And then and when you need to be in touch with that person, you put your hand and you touch and agree with it. So I have to thank all the guests for being here today, but mostly I want to definitely thank you for watching the Fobbs Business Review, and stay in touch with us on Twitter, stay in touch with us on Facebook, and go to www.thefobbsbusinessreview and find out about our events that we have, workshops. We have 4 signature events. We want to make sure that you're involved so that we can continue to introduce you to great people. We want your network to grow. We want your net worth to grow as well by the information that you're getting on the show today. So until next time, we'll see you online at www.thefobbsbusinessreview.com.